I love card games. There's something I really enjoy about all of these different card games here. Here we have Magic the Gathering. If you've never played it or heard of it, I recommend learning about it. Ask a teenage boy and he'll probably tell you about it. There are different card types, like lands, and different creatures. Different creatures have different abilities, and so it's fun to create different decks and use them to battle other opponents or to work with a teammate battling a group of individuals. So I really enjoy that about Magic, where you can personalize it. You can create your deck the way you want within the parameters that Magic has set. Another one of my favorite card games is Dominion. Dominion, once again, it's not a cooperative game, but it's a card game where you use money to purchase action cards, and then you use the action cards to purchase your victory point cards. And once again, you build your own deck and you base it on your own style with the cards that are available to you during that game. It's a strategy to build a deck that is effective and that's quick enough to beat your opponents, because they have the opportunity to buy the same cards. Of course, there is some randomness when it comes to it, perhaps chance, you could say, whether their shuffle is good or not and which cards come into your hand. And then you have your classic playing cards. You can play mini games with those. One of my favorite games is actually called Nerds. If you haven't heard of it, Google it. It's a really fun and energetic game. And here I have my deck, life cards. This is a forest card from Magic the Gathering. This is called Mana. This forest card I used because it represents the tree. And this video is about to tree and tree again. Here I have my Johari window. If you didn't recognize it, it's a single pane that has two dividers on it. The horizontal divider is actually the tie that I wore in my wedding. It is the tie that represents the unknown to others, and so it represents that only in the deeper relationships do people know different things about me, like my wife and family and things like that. And so, and then the other tie was just a tie from an old roommate's wedding that represents something that people see me wear regularly, and it is something that other people have known. So I'm going to take my deck of life cards here, and I'm going to lay them out in my Johari window. Alright, let's see what we have here. Brave. This was one that people identified about me. Friendly. Unknown. Powerful. And so you can see that these cards are being placed in the location to where they were on my Johari window paper after doing that exercise. And so I will go ahead and complete this, and then I'll be back in a moment. Alright, I have it all laid out now, and here are the things that I knew about myself but that others did not identify. The words themselves aren't particularly important. As you can see, there were quite a few in the known to others but unknown to self. In this category, they represented different attributes that I showed to other people but that I did not indicate in myself. The one that did correspond with both, identified by myself and by others, was friendly. I really like that. I enjoy the fact that people find me to be friendly. And then down here in this corner, the unknown to both, you can see that I have blank cards because it's unknown. Those can be filled in later in life as I come to know different things about myself, or as other people come to know things about me. Those cards too will be filled in. But let's represent all of these cards in a different way, the way of the tree. Alright, we are back. In this case, the ties represent the growth rings of a tree. They can also represent the borders of the golden circle, as referred to by Simon Sinek. They are 3 different levels, and in this case it represents the Johari window. Out on the outer edge are the things that people saw about me. They're the ones in the blue text. Why are they on the outermost edge? Because those are the ones that were revealed. Those that we both identified are in the middle section here, because it's known to both those outside and myself. Those in the innermost circle are known only to me and not to others. These ties can also represent lines of intimacy or depth of relationship. This is probably why Lee felt that she saw people identify those superficial things, but they did not identify the deeper things about her. It's because of these lines of intimacy that exist, as represented by these ties. We allow certain people in so far before we first need to develop relationships of trust, and as leaders to be humble, and all those attributes that are important to leadership in organizations and leading ourselves. Now, as you see here, there's only 3 segments, but in a Johari window there are 4, and so those unknowns remain in a pile here, later to be filled out and dealt into the area in which they belong. Now, let's go from the rings of the tree to the branches and see what that looks like. Okay, now to tree and tree again. Here is the tree that is created by those attributes of the Johari window. You can tell once again that the outermost edge are those that were identified by others. Those leaves that are on the outside of the tree, that are readily seen by others and at first glance. A little farther in is the one identified by both. And yet as you come down the branches, you have those that are known only to self and to others. Then, at the base of the tree, you have, once again, your unknowns. These are energies and fruits that are not yet been put out onto the tree. But what does all this have to do with that deck of life? How does that relate to leadership and leading others? Well, here we have it. Here's our deck of life. Here are our cards. When we first meet people, you can liken it unto many people sitting at tables, each with their deck of cards, all containing their attributes. And what we do, in a way, just with the Johari window exercise, we flip over 5 cards, identifying ourselves to other people. Now, this is our first interaction with this person, and it depends on how our cards relate to their cards, on how close of a friendship we create, how well we work together, or if there's just not any bonding between us that leads to any kind of growth for each other, or we might just continue on. But contained in our deck of life, there are cards that we don't like. Cards that are like curses or negative attributes. Now this one, for myself, is the curse of overeating. I love food and I love to eat food, yet I do have a tendency to overeat at times. But in life, after that, I've come to know this of myself, that I do overeat, I can make a choice. Just like those people in God on Trial had the ability to make a choice, and Viktor Frankl, they could choose something else. And for myself, I can choose self-control. And by choosing self-control, I can now stack my deck with attributes and things that I enjoy and that are strengths to me. Going through the deck again, we do run into those times where we have blank cards. There's things we don't know about ourselves. Maybe there's an obstacle that we will soon be faced with and be able to overcome, and we might learn something about ourselves and be able to write that on this card. Someday I'll have a card written on it that says a master's in organizational leadership, Gonzaga grad. And so, as you go through and you share yourself with others, you basically reveal your cards in different ways, and different people see different things. As you could notice from the Johari window, the three people did not always pick the same words to describe you. Once again, we run into a curse. We run into a weakness that we want to have be made strong. Now, I noticed in my life that I had a tendency to belittle others, to bring them down and not to build them up. So I worked really hard to change that. And so now I strive for others to see me celebrate others' accomplishments. This is important for me to help build each other up, to build other people up. And I think it's a key attribute of a good leader, is that they recognize that a rising tide raises all ships, and we need to work together in order to bring about big things and good things in this world. I liken it to a tree requiring manure to grow, and that manure is broken down by bacteria, very small things that team up with the tree to break it down, to allow the tree to gain strength. And so, literally, it is the crap in life that allows us to be stronger.